Nihal Sarin had a fine tournament in Belgrade, Serbia, where he finished second at the Belgrade GM tournament. This is his picture where he receives the second prize of 3,500 euros. And also, he managed to perform pretty well, gaining 10 ELO points. You can see the winner of the tournament was the Russian GM Sanan Sjugirov. Then Nihal, you had Velimir Ivic, Nodirbek, Indjic. So the tournament was very strong, and Nihal did well to score 5.5 out of 9. These are all the players from the tournament. As you can see, there was Parham there next to Nihal, Indjic, Sjugirov, Ivic, and there was also David Navara there, Marcus Rager, Alexei Sarana. Nihal's current rating is 2647, and although he gained 10 ELO points, his still overall rating is reducing by 4 points because he had a very bad Cannes Open where he lost 14 ELO points. So in spite of this good performance, he would be 2647 right now, 2648. But Nihal is, of course, getting stronger each day with his play, as he keeps saying, he keeps learning from his games. And I want to show you his game against Grandmaster Alexander Indjic. This is what we are going to see here. Once again, I want you to notice how Nihal is able to outplay even very strong GMs like Indjic, who's 2600 from equal positions. Somewhere it does remind you of Anatoly Karpov or Magnus Carlsen and this kind of feel. So knight f3 by Nihal, d5 by Alexander Indjic, e3, knight f6, c4, e6, knight to c3, c5, and he took on d4. Now one way to play here is ed5, when Nihal would have most likely played d4 or bishop b5 check, and sometimes you are left with an isolated pawn on d5 in such structures. So Indjic decided to take with the knight, Nihal took back, and once again he took with the queen instead of taking with the pawn. Okay, it's all fine. b3, bishop e7, bishop b2, castles, and now bishop c4. Black played queen d8. And here Nihal chose a move which was more, I would say, little less ambitious. He castled, which is completely normal, but also possible was queen c2. And in such positions, you can have the ideas of playing h4, trying for some kind of a more aggressive kind of a setup. But okay, he went castles, knight to c6. And here I do not 100% agree with Nihal's next move, which is d4, because it kind of liquidates everything very quickly. Queen c2 once again looks interesting with the idea of bringing the rook to the center and then breaking with d4. d4, pawn takes, knight takes, knight takes, bishop takes. For the time being, it looks really cool. You have the bishops in the game, but black immediately plays bd7 and tells Nihal, look, I'm going to play my bishop to c6. I'm going to put my other bishop to f6. Where is your opening advantage as white? Well, Nihal has this very small time of one move where he can use his lead in development. What should he do? So first thought that comes to mind is, why not threaten a mate in one? But it's a blunder. Why is it a blunder? Can anyone tell me? Guys, pause the video and try to think. Yeah, e5. And you attack the queen and also the bishop and you lose the game. So Nihal went queen h5, just putting the queen on a good square. Bishop c6 was possible, but he went bishop f6. And now came the move rook a to d1. He played bishop takes d4, rook takes d4, and queen e7, rook d1, and bishop c6. So black has managed to equalize the position, it seems. He has got his piece nicely developed, but still, because of that small lead in development, white still has the control of the open d file, which is not a small thing. Bishop b5, Nihal keeps on trying to press, because What else? Yeah, like you have this d7 square where you want to enter, the bishop controls it, so you try to exchange it. g6, queen goes back, bishop takes, queen takes, and rook f d8 was played here. Here Nihal could have played rook d7. It was a possible move. And then after rook takes, rook takes, rook takes. Okay, if you take with the queen, then I believe that after queen a3, black is also having counterplay. If you take on b7, I'll go rook f8. This pawn is under pressure and you will lose a pawn there. So, I mean, the material will be equalized. So rook takes, queen f6, threatening a check here, and say g3 after rook c8, black has enough counterplay here. So Nihal, instead of getting in, he decided to play g3 here. And now you clearly understand the small edge is that here after takes, you can't go rook d8 because I take and take on b7 with an extra pawn and a winning position. So he had to go rook c8. And now Nihal here plays rook d7, queen f6. Now notice that rook c2 is a massive threat, threatening here. So Nihal drops his queen back. He still feels that he's better because of his rook on the 7th. But Indjic now plays e5. So here's my small little question to you. Why is rook takes b7 a mistake? So firstly, rook c1 check, king g2. And now you have to see queen c6 check. Of course, the rook is hanging, so you must play queen f3. And I hope you manage to find this next very important move, which is rook g1, deflecting the king and winning the queen. Because here e4 is not at all possible. That would be a huge blunder. After queen f7, you get checkmated. So rook g1 is the move. He cannot take this pawn yet on b7, so he played e4. Now the threat is rook b7 because queen c6 wouldn't come with a check. So check here, king g2. And now Indjic could have played queen to c6. I wonder why Indjic did not go for this. Maybe he was afraid of rook e7, e5 pawn under pressure, rook c2, queen f3. And this does look scary because now I'm putting pressure on f7. And when you have to play a move like f6, you are not very comfortable because your king is now weak, 7th rank, there is a rook. But this would have been the best way to play and the position is around equal here. He went h5 and Nihal said, what's the idea here? Now, this is where you see the position is now turning around. From being equal, it is now going in white's favor and Nihal goes and takes this pawn. He is not afraid. Like if you play a move like h4 here, Indjic would be happy. It's what maybe he wants. And Nihal could have played this. But taking the pawn is brave because now h4. And at the right time, he could threaten h3 and all such ideas. Nihal takes here and very good move. He's not afraid of spoiling his structure, opening his king because there are no checks here. Say for example, if you were to take here, I would go queen f3, attacking the pawn on f7, which is very difficult to defend. And if you go queen g5, I have queen g3, offering a queen trade. Once again, white's king is safe. So after g takes h4, he went a5, rook a7, rook to c3, and now another very nice move by Nihal. I like this very much, h3. After queen takes h4, here is a key moment. What do you play here as white? Because h3 is falling, what do you do? So one of the moves here is queen g4 that you would have thought of, and taking would result in white having a winning advantage because a5 pawn is also weak, and if you try to defend this rook endgame after g5, I have complete control over the position. White is winning. But the move here is queen d8. Not only do I go back, I defend the pawn, but I'm also at some point trying for active play against f2. And so the right move by Nihal here, which he found, again little moves, rook a8 check, king g7, and now queen g4. And now you can't go back queen d8, so you have to play queen e7, rook takes a5, queen b4. And again, carefully he's playing here. If you take on e5, it might result in some counter play here. So he went first rook a8. So if you now go rook c1, then I can go queen h4, threatening a mate first, on h8. So queen b7, now rook d8, queen e7, rook d5. Just by moving around, he has improved his position. Rook a5. If now you play rook c2, I have queen g3, e5 pawn is loose. So queen b6, and he took the pawn. Queen a6, rook d5, rook c1, threatening queen f1, and by this, Nihal came back. He's 3 pawns up. Indjic just lashed out. Nihal took, and after rook d1, even before Nihal could play his move, he resigned because white is totally winning. So Nihal managed to win this very nice game, by little moves, and his play definitely reminds us of some of the greatest positional players like Karpov, Smyslov, Capablanca, Carlsen, but he has, of course, a long way to go still. He's right now close to 2650, and we wish him all the best for his next events. This is Sagar Shah signing off. Bye bye.